Have you ever been somewhere, surrounded by people, and suddenly felt like you didn't belong there? Not because anyone said something. You just felt different. Like everyone else knew how to exist naturally, while you were secretly trying to imitate them. Maybe you felt this before. Listening more than speaking. Overthinking before responding. Watching people carefully before reacting. And after a while, social situations stop feeling natural. They start feeling like performance. And the strange part is, most people never notice you feel this way. But psychology has observed this pattern for years. Because people who constantly feel out of place often have one thing in common. They became extremely aware of other people very early in life. And once you understand where that feeling comes from, you begin seeing a lot about yourself differently. Sometimes it starts so early, you don't even realize you're doing it. You walk into a room and immediately begin reading people. Who seems comfortable? Who seems distant? Who feels genuine? And who doesn't? And you do it automatically. Not because you're trying to judge anyone, but because your brain learned very early that understanding the emotional atmosphere around you was important. So instead of relaxing socially, you stay slightly alert. And maybe you've noticed this too. Some people seem completely present in the moment, but you rarely feel that way. Part of your mind is always observing, watching reactions, noticing changes in tone, thinking about how you sound while you're still talking. And after years of functioning that way, socializing starts becoming exhausting in a very specific way. Not physically, mentally. Because while other people are simply experiencing the conversation, your mind keeps analyzing it in real time. And that's why many people who feel out of place leave social situations feeling strangely drained, even when nothing bad happened. Because the exhaustion wasn't coming from the people themselves. It came from the constant feeling of needing to pay attention to yourself all the time. And what's interesting is that many people with this pattern don't actually feel disconnected from everyone. Usually, they feel disconnected from superficiality, forced conversations, fake enthusiasm, performative personalities, interactions that feel emotionally empty. They can participate in it, but deep down, it rarely feels real. And after a while, you start wondering if something is wrong with you. Why do groups seem so natural for everyone else? Why does connection feel harder for me? And why does being surrounded by people sometimes feel lonelier than being alone? But there's something important about this pattern. People who constantly feel out of place often spent their entire lives paying too much attention to emotions and reactions. And once that happens, you stop experiencing social situations lightly. You start experiencing them deeply. But there's something important about all of this. Feeling out of place doesn't always mean something is wrong with you. It simply means you spent too much time trying to adapt to environments that never truly felt natural to you. So little by little, you learn to observe more than participate, to think more before speaking, to notice small changes in people, to understand the atmosphere before allowing yourself to relax inside it. And after years of living that way, you begin believing that discomfort is simply who you are. That you were born strange, distant, hard to connect with. But maybe that's not true. Maybe you just spent too much time in places where you had to pay attention to everything all the time. And when someone lives like that for too long, solitude starts feeling safer than belonging. Because being alone is less exhausting. There's no pressure, no performance, no constant feeling of needing to think before simply existing. And maybe that's why some people feel more like themselves in silence than around most people. But maybe the saddest part of all this is that many people spend years believing they're broken, when in reality, they may simply be tired of connections that never felt real. And maybe that feeling of being out of place was never proof that you don't belong anywhere. Maybe it was only the feeling of not having found a place yet where you could finally stop monitoring yourself all the time. And maybe the strangest part is, a lot of people spend their whole lives feeling out of place without ever realizing There are thousands of other people feeling exactly the same way.